Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a homeowner here in San Diego, there's a really good chance you're dealing with a uniquely frustrating problem right now: failing historic door hardware. Today, we're going to definitively solve that. This explainer is your clear, practical, no-fluff guide to diagnosing your door and figuring out exactly what your next step should be.
And I want to validate that frustration right out of the gate with this wild statistic. According to census figures, nearly half, literally 49.6% of all homes in San Diego were built before 1978. So what does that mean? It means a massive chunk of us are out here battling these original, aging lock mechanisms on our front doors every single day.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by spotting a mortise lock, look at why old locks fail, make the case for repair, figure out when to replace them completely, and wrap up with costs and next steps. Let's dive in.
All right, Section 1, Spotting a Mortise Lock. First things first, we actually need to confirm you've got a mortise lock and not just standard modern hardware.
So the crucial thing here is understanding the mechanics. Unlike standard modern locks that kind of just sit right on the surface of your door, a mortise mechanism lives entirely inside the wood. Think of it like a single, heavy cassette that's pocketed deep into the edge of the door, and it houses all the shebang: the latch, the deadbolt, the springs, all in one unit. In fact, I want you to literally pause this explainer, walk over, and open your front door right now. Look closely at the edge. If you see this specific tall metal plate measuring 6 to 8 inches high and it's secured by screws at the very top and bottom, well, congratulations, you've got a mortise lock on your hands. Moving on to Section 2, Why Old Locks Fail. Let's investigate exactly who the culprits are when these generational locks finally give out on us.
So, what's actually killing your lock? Interestingly enough, your specific San Diego neighborhood dictates the answer. If you're in Point Loma or Ocean Beach, that dense marine layer is carrying moisture and coastal salt air right into your door, which basically eats away and oxidizes the brass and steel. But if you're inland, places like University Heights or Normal Heights, your enemy is actually dust. It mixes with decades-old grease to form this thick, sticky sludge that completely freezes up the tiny internal springs. It's like a giant puzzle of grime.
Now, regardless of where you live, the mechanical symptoms are usually going to look the same. Use this mental checklist to self-diagnose your door right now. Does your doorknob sag downward, like a sad, unenthusiastic handshake? Does your key just spin freely without ever catching the deadbolt? Or maybe your latch is getting stuck inside the edge of the door. Take note of these exact mechanical symptoms, because you're going to need to tell the professional exactly what's going on.
Okay, Section 3, the case for repair. If your lock is showing any of those symptoms, let's talk about why preserving and repairing it might actually be your smartest first move.
This is absolutely crucial for those of you living in Hillcrest, North Park, South Park, or Mission Hills. You know these neighborhoods are totally defined by their gorgeous pre-war architecture. Ripping out original, solid brass historic hardware just to slap on some cheap modern lock? That can actively damage the historical and aesthetic value of your classic home, and nobody wants that.
So let's look at what the actual professional repair process entails. Since obviously you can't just run to the store and buy factory parts from before 1978, local locksmiths have to be incredibly meticulous. They remove the entire cassette, pop open the metal case, and clean out all that sludge and grime we talked about. They often have to hand-fit universal flat springs or even salvaged hardware. Then they lubricate the whole thing with modern dry graphite. And let me tell you, when they're done, it completely restores that crisp, heavy, super satisfying clunk you get when you turn the key. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to Section 4, When to Replace Completely. Look, we have to be realistic here. Sometimes preservation just isn't in the cards. A lock is officially beyond saving if the main housing, that heavy cast iron case, is cracked, if the internal posts are shattered, or the brass is just completely eaten through by coastal rust. The moving parts literally have nothing to hold on to anymore. A repair simply will not hold. You might also need a total replacement if your antique lock uses an old skeleton key system that offers basically zero protection against modern picking techniques.
And here's the thing you really need to know. Replacement is not just a quick 5-minute swap. Check out these steps. Because that old mortise lock leaves a massive, gaping pocket inside the wood, replacing it is actually a major carpentry job. A professional has to fill that large empty cavity with a solid block of wood, patch it, sand it, paint it, and only then drill brand new standard holes so your door is solid enough to even accept modern hardware. It's a whole process.
All right, Section 5, Cost and Next Steps.
Now we've arrived at arguably the most crucial part of our explainer, figuring out your path forward and understanding the bottom line. Here is your highly practical decision matrix. Seriously, grab your phone and take a screenshot of this right now, because this is a strict, no-fluff guide. If your knob sags but the key still works, repair it. It's likely just a broken hub spring. Case is shattered, full replacement. Door wood is splintering and rotting, full replacement. This chart removes all the guesswork based on exactly what condition your door is in today.
When it comes to the cost, remember that fixing historic hardware requires highly specialized skill. Because exact market rates aren't published by regulators, a really good rule of thumb is that it's going to cost less than buying a high-end historical reproduction, but definitely more than just swapping out a cheap deadbolt from the hardware store. So your immediate next step is to have a professional assess the lock in person. Make sure to get a firm, guaranteed quote and timeline before you authorize any work, for sure.
Before we wrap up, let's do a quick rapid fire on a couple of the most common questions. First up, can you put a smart lock on a mortise door? Well, yes, you can. But remember that major carpentry job we just talked about? You have to permanently modify the door to do it, unless you're willing to hunt down and pay for very rare, highly expensive, commercial-grade mortise smart locks. So definitely something to weigh.
Question 2. Can I just replace the keyway and keep the old lock body? Absolutely. If that heavy metal cassette inside the door still works perfectly smoothly, a locksmith can just unscrew the exterior threaded cylinder and swap it out for a new one with new keys. Honestly, if you just bought a historic home, this is hands down the most cost-effective way to secure your new property.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. Now that you've got the diagnostic tools, the symptoms to look out for, and the cost realities laid out right in front of you, the final choice is yours. Will you invest in preserving the incredible craftsmanship of San Diego's architectural past, or is your lock telling you it's finally time to carve out a permanent path for the future?